Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's third video, doing GavsWeatherVids Sunday Round-Up for today's third video. So as also on Sunday, we've got your eclectic mix of bits about, bringing things like sea surface temperature, anomalies, solar activity, the QVO, the AO, the NEO, and the weather next 10 to 14 days and beyond as well. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and I shall talk you through the Sunday Round-Up in a moment. Just say about the first video released today was our 7 AM forecast, and we've also released the second autumn update. Bit of a laugh, that one. Have a look at that if you have not yet done so. We're going to be live streaming after 6 PM or at 6 PM tonight. Sunny live stream, so I'm going to show you some long range. We're looking at CFS and Beijing Climate Centre data for the next few months, you know, for the rest of summer, for the autumn, and also going into winter 2021-2022. So I shall see you live a little bit later on at 6 o'clock, but for now, let's get on with the Sunday Roundup, shall we? So I'll turn the webcam off and have a look at solar activity. So this episode disc is looking on our side of this day from solarham.net. So we've just got one sunspot area today, just that area there, one sunspot region. Otherwise, the solar disk, visible solar disk, is spotless. Solar activity is at very low levels and is expected to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days. We have not got the solar activity tracker this week, but we have got some data from Rich, so let's see who I've been turning to this week. Oh, it's Gav Mini-Me, I think. Gav Mini-Me from Austin Powers. Thank you so much, Rich, for turning me into Mini-Me. Wow. Right, so here we go then. For 2021 so far, the current spotted stretch is 0 days, because of course we had sunspots yesterday, and for 2021 so far, we've had 46 days without sunspots, which I think it's 27% of the year so far. So that percentage gradually reducing, gradually coming down, as you would expect, given that we are going into a second year of solar cycle 25. Of course, 2020 had 208 days without sunspots. That was 57% of the year. And our solar minimum year was 2019, which had 281 days without sunspots most of the year. 77% of the year, actually. So if we go down to the bottom here, we can see that, of course, the last solar minimum year was in, before this one, was in 2008. That had 268 days without sunspots, 73% of the year. So the two solar minimums of 2008, two solar minimum years 2008 to 2019, very, very comparable with one another. And in fact, 2019 was slightly deeper solar minimum at 77% of the year compared to the 73% of the year that we had in 2008. But they're very, very much on a par with one another. 2009 was almost like a solar minimum year as well, 260 days, 71% of the year. And even into like the second year of solar cycle 24, the last solar cycle 2010, was had 14% of the year, 51 days without sunspots. So at the moment, 2021, you know, second year of solar cycle 25 is actually a little bit weaker than the second year of solar cycle 24. But of course, what I have to factor in with that is that we've still got like 6 months of this year to go. So it'll be interesting where it finishes up, but I would suspect this will, you know, this percentage will continue to come down, but it will probably remain quite high for the second year of the solar cycle year, you know, solar cycle. So so we'll see where that goes in the next year. But at the moment, that's quite a big percentage for like the second year of solar cycle. Thank you so much, Rich, for the data and also for turning me into Mini-Me. Right, let's have a look at the sea surface temperature on it, shall we? So we're going to have 3 areas of interest. We've got the ENSO region just here. We've got the Northern Pacific over there, and we've got the North Atlantic over here. Right, so that's how the oceans were looking when we did last week's Sunday Roundup. Let's have a look at the latest show. This is them. So ENSO region, first of all, very little change again in the ENSO region. It's gradually warming a little bit towards the eastern part of the ENSO region, you know, heading over towards the Peruvian coast of the equatorial Pacific. It's not anywhere near enough to be considered like an El Nino, though. And generally, we're just sort of still at ENSO neutral. We've unravelled the La Nina that we had last winter. and we remain at ENSO neutral for the time being, albeit I think we're just about on the warm side of ENSO neutral now, probably, particularly in this eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. Further northwards in the non-Pacific, let's have a look at last week and go back to this week. So continuing to get a bit warmer there in the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean. Still have this cold and average area here off the coast of California and America, for example. In between, it's pretty warm through this area. And then into the North Atlantic. Let's see how things were looking in the North Atlantic last week. So that situation over here last week. Let's have a look at the very latest, shall we? So, very strange pattern that we've got here. So it's significantly warmer than average still around Greenland. But it has gone colder than average to the west of Ireland. So that's interesting. That's a significant difference, you know, over a very small area, really. In the tropical Atlantic, we see that it's pretty warm through there. It's near normal in this way just here, and it gets warmer again as we go up towards the Azores and the Canary Islands. Overall, the Atlantic is still in quite a warm state, except for this area just here, but it's getting rather colder. But generally, the Atlantic is still in quite a warm state, and particularly so like in the tropical Atlantic through here, and of course into Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico as well. It remains quite warm there, and looks generally pretty well primed for what could be a relatively big season this year for the hurricane season. Of course, we had Tropical Storm Claudette on the Gulf Coast yesterday. As far as CFSV2 is concerned, that's beginning to move more towards La Nina, actually, with its forecast. Interesting. There's not much sign of La Nina at the moment, you know, within the equatorial Pacific Ocean, but the model itself is gradually starting to move more towards a La Nina signal. So we've got our temperatures on the side, and the dates are along the bottom in monthly periods at the bottom of the chart. So the all-important number, of course, is half a degree, 0.5, or minus 0.5 degrees below average. That's what you've got to get to, like, La Nina threshold. It's the same for El Nino. You've got to go half a degree above average to get to El Nino threshold. So where we are right now is very much like an ENSO neutral, you know, bang on ENSO neutral. Actually, I said we're on the warmer side of ENSO neutral, not really. Certainly for the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean anyway, we are bang on ENSO neutral at the moment. From around July though, so just next month, the black dash line is starting to move downwards a little bit more so than it has done, you know, over the past few weeks. So it's still only going for like a weak La Nina, but it is definitely dipping down into La Nina territory, albeit a weak La Nina here now with the black dash on, which of course is the ensemble mean. So CFSV2 wants to develop a weak La Nina as we go through the remainder of the summer and into the early autumn. We shall keep an eye on that and see how that develops, of course. Right, Southern Oscillation Index, SOI. Next, remember, the SOI is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, measuring air pressures between Darwin and Tahiti. When the SOI is in its negative phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. When the SOI is in its positive phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. So negative is El Nino, positive is La Nina. Yes, that's right. Negative is El Nino, positive is La Nina. That's right. Right, okay. So we can see with our data, so these columns just here, these two here are for Tahiti and for Darwin, and then this is the overall SOI number that's created based on those barometric pressure readings. So you can see that a few days ago, it's actually very positive with the SOI. So on the 14th of June, we were at plus 16. 15th of June, we're at plus 24. 16th of June, we're at plus 17. 17th of June, we're at plus 9. These are very positive numbers, and the atmospheric state, therefore, is really reflective of La Nina. The last couple of days have been more negative, though. 19th of June is at minus 7, and 20th of June is at minus 16. So that's more reflective of like an El Nino type state. So at the moment, the atmosphere is still swinging between El Nino and La Nina. It's still trying to find an equilibrium, you know, a balance, and so at the moment we're still swinging between El Nino and La Nina, which is exactly what you expect when you're ENSO neutral, to be honest. But you know, some days will be like El Nino type setup. Some days will be La Nina type setup. Exactly what you expect when you're at El Nino, with neither state able to gain an ascendancy for the time being. But CFS is certainly indicating there, but we might go into a weak La Nina through the rest of the summer and into the autumn. Now, this is quite interesting. This is from NASA. I don't normally show this, but just to tell you that NASA is now saying that the QBO is in the easterly phase. It's not just descending now. They're saying that QBO is in the easterly phase. Let's have a look at this, and this is what you're familiar with. So this is showing like QBO setups really through the atmosphere. So with this, you have to think this is like the top of the atmosphere in the stratosphere at 10 HPA. We've got 30 to 50 HPA just there. That's the troposphere. That's an important boundary level of the atmosphere where weather is taking place. So where we've got these sandy brown colours, that's where we've got the westerly QBO. The blue-green colours are the easterly QBOs. You can just about still see the last proper easterly QBO from 2017-2018 just here, although it is disappearing off the chart very, very quickly now. This is the westerly QBO of late 2018 to 2019 into the beginning of 2020. We've got the, this should have been like the next easterly QBO phase just here, but should have got going during 2020, but it failed. You see how instead of descending down from the stratosphere to the troposphere, it gets stuck up here in the stratosphere. It does not descend into the troposphere, and the westerly QBO actually comes back through the second half of 2020 and into 2021. However, the easterly QBO never completely goes away. It's always up there in the stratosphere, and now the easterly QBO has been descending and has descended, if that's right, but we are in easterly QBO phase. So you can see quite a smooth line. Notice the difference from like the failure of the easterly QBO last year when it does not smoothly descend to this year, and you can see that it is very much smoothly descending from the stratosphere to the troposphere. So if we zoom in, you can see that indeed the colours, the blue colours are getting more intense over time, and they are indeed pushing down into the troposphere as well from the stratosphere. So here they come now into that boundary level of the atmosphere that we call the troposphere, where weather takes place. And so I think it's pretty much odds on now that this ECQBO is going to be a proper ECQBO. It's not going to fail. And so the remainder of the year we'll see the ECQBO continuing to strengthen. The reason we look at this is that when you're in ECQBO, you weaken the zonal westerlies. So this is particularly important in winter, because when you're in an ECQBO with a weakened zonal westerly, you have an increased sort of blocking type signal, and you get colder winters. Although not as straightforward as that, because not every ECQBO is a cold winter. If it was, then we would have a cold winter every other year, because the easterly QBO, happens every other year and alternates with westerly QBO on a year-by-year basis. And despite the failure we had last year, it should actually be very consistent and pulse-like as it oscillates between west and east phases. So if the ECQBO guaranteed a cold winter, then we would have a cold and block winter every other year. It doesn't work out like that. If only it did, it'd make it so much easier for forecasting. But there are so many other factors that you have to take into account. But it is one of the things that are quite important, for our winter fate. So the fact we're going into ECQBO very smoothly, it looks like it'd be quite a strong ECQBO, I think, given the amount of time it's taken to get going. Could mean that this coming winter is going to have weakened zonal flow. We shall wait and see. More about the QBO, of course, in the next few weeks, months, and particularly when we get into our winter update season from September. Right, let's have a look at the Arctic Oscillation net show. This is how the AO observed and forecast chart is looking. It's very similar to like the QBO and the SY. The AO is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. It does not drive anything in its own terms. Just tells us what the atmosphere is doing. When the Arctic Oscillation is negative, we've got blocking, high pressure blocking over pole. When the AO is positive, we've got low pressure over pole. So the current position, you can see that with the Arctic Oscillation, like from April into May, it's generally negative. From May into June, it goes positive. Where we are right now with the AO is around neutral, and the GFS ensembles, which are the red lines here, they're indicating that the Arctic Oscillation from the second half of June to the beginning of July is going to stay around neutral, not much of a deviation either way. So possibly like on the negative side for the next week or so, and then slightly on the positive side as we go into the final week of June and the beginning of July. But not much of not much change either way. Just very close to neutral with the AO. The NAO looks quite interesting. So again, this is just measuring air pressure this time in the North Atlantic between Iceland and the Azores. So the NAO I should say, is currently in like a weekly positive state. The GFS ensembles are keeping the NAO weekly positive for the next few days, but are indicating that it might start to go negative actually as we move in towards the beginning of July. If the NAO does start to go negative into the beginning of July, that can mean two things. It could mean that we're just weakening the westerly flow, and that might be a signal for blocking. It could also mean we're going to get some, by blocking I mean high pressure very close to the UK, maybe like just to our east or something like that. It could also mean, though, that we're going to start getting high pressure developing around Iceland and Greenland, particularly if the AO would start going negative as well. So if we start getting high pressure developing around Iceland and Greenland, that would be like a signal for cooler, wetter weather into July. But it looks like something's happening there, doesn't it, with the NAO, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. Right, let's do some forecasting, then. So these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're looking at London today. The red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average for London. We're starting off quite close to average at the moment. Actually, we're going to go cooler over the next 2 or 3 days, becoming quite chilly with those upper air temperature ensembles. And then going to the last week of June and the first days of July, we see the upper air temperatures beginning to return close to average. Really, maybe even going slightly above average, but not a particularly big deviation either way. There are a few warm outliers. These ones up here are quite hot, but equally there are a few cool outliers down here. Overall, though, it looks like the GFS ensembles are just very, very close to average, really, and not particularly deviating either way. Precipitation-wise, there is going to be plenty of rain to come over the next few days and into next week as well. You see regular precipitation spikes there, so it looks like it's going to be quite showery at the very least. Maybe at times could actually be quite wet. Certainly next week, and temperatures after like a cool down over the next 2 or 3 days will probably start to return closer to average, maybe a little bit above towards the end of this coming week. Temperature anomalies from the 20th to 28th of June going to be slightly below average for the UK and for Ireland. Precipitation anomalies from the 20th to 28th of June actually a little bit drier than average in many areas. Perhaps a bit of a surprise given that ensemble graph. You'll notice the wettest conditions are just to our south though, so that probably explains why London is actually one of the wettest places in the country in the next week or so. But generally, many central northern areas anyway come out drier than average. Latest wind flow map from earth.northschool.net shows that we've got low pressure to our south, just to west of Biscay. So that's been bringing some rain overnight. Still some showery rain left for us parts of the country today. There'll be more rain to come in the south anyway tonight and into tomorrow. Let's go through some model data then. So this is how the UK Met is looking for Wednesday. Ridge of high pressure beginning to build in off the Atlantic on Wednesday. A nice ridge from the Azores should give us a drier and warmer day. Thursday, we're going to pull the high pressure back out into the Atlantic, start to drop a trough of low pressure in from the north. That could bring some showery weather to parts of the country, especially like northern eastern areas, I think, in the second half of the week. Winds going to the north-northeast well, so it will become a bit cooler, I think, towards the end of the week, and will be rather showery. Into next weekend, this is Saturday, again, the ridge extending in off the Atlantic, bring quite a bit of dry weather, especially to more northern and western areas, although pressure remains quite weak to the south and to the southeast. That's as far as we get to with the UK Met 268 hours, midnight on Sunday. So then we've got a ridge out to our west, keeping western areas mainly drier, but southern east areas close to this trough will be more showery, and generally it'll be quite cool with winds in from the north. Right, that's UK Met done. This is how the GFS midnight run is looking. If you're enjoying this sunny roundup, by the way, please give us a like. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that, and drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Thank you so much, everyone. Right, this is how the GFS midnight run is looking. So again, ridge of high pressure building in off the Atlantic, bringing lots of dry weather through the middle of next week. Second half of next week, you pull the heights out to west, drop a trough in from the north, turn showery, and a bit on the cool side as well, with winds going northerly. Into next weekend, the ridge extends back in from off the Atlantic Ocean. So quite a dry weekend next weekend with some sunny spells, and should feel reasonably warm as well, I would have thought. Up to day 10, again, a nice reach from the Atlantic for days sort of 8 and 9, bringing lots of dry and increasingly warm weather actually there into the closing days of the month. Although the very end of the month itself, which is day 10, 30th of June, we begin to move low pressure back in off the Atlantic, so begin to turn cooler and showery in the north. Down in the south, though, should still be mainly dry and potentially quite warm. And in the more extended range, we gradually start to bring low pressure in during the opening days of July, so it begins to turn cooler and more showery as we get into early July. But of course, that is a really long way off, so that remains to be seen. GM looks like that. Again, the ridge building in from off the Atlantic on Wednesday should bring a lot of dry weather. Second half of next week, the ridge pulls out to our west. The trough begins to drop in from the north, turns more showery and somewhat cooler as well. And then going into next weekend, again, the ridge builds in from the west into the UK, brings loads of dry and quite warm weather too. And then moving up towards day 10, just keep that high pressure centred over top of the country. So we don't take the high west with the GM. Actually, we keep it centred over the country. So an increasingly warm, dry, sunny, maybe quite hot end to June with the GM. And then the ECMWF looks like this. Again, the ridge is building in from off the Atlantic on Wednesday, bringing a lot of dry and quite warm weather. Then the high pressure pulls out to our west. Thursday and Friday, a trough drops in from the north, brings showery weather to the north and the east, and turns wind into the north, which will be quite a cool wind direction. Second half next week, the high pressure centred to our west still. It is exerting an influence on the country, but generally the high pressure is a bit to our west, means that southern eastern areas in particular could still be a little bit on the cool and showery side. And then moving up towards day 10, the high pressure begins to ridge in properly, so we come to the end of June on what could be a very warm, dry and sunny note, although by the final day of the month, day 10, 30th of June, high pressure is again just beginning to pull back into the Atlantic slightly to allow a bit more of a cooler northwesterly flow with some showers into the north. Overall, though, it looks like it's going to be quite a dry and warm weather around towards the end of next week, and then running on towards the end next weekend, and then running on towards the end of June. Where we go into July, of course, that remains to be seen. This is the precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run from Meteo.com. So you see there is more rain to come, particularly for southern areas over the next 24, 48 hours or so. That will all get out of the way, and then as we go through the middle part of the week, it will actually turn drier, except some showery rain to the far west and northwest. Into the end of the week, it turns a bit showery as that trough drops in from the north. That could bring some wet weather, particularly northern and eastern areas, through the second half next week. And then into next weekend, still a little bit on the showery side, especially for more eastern areas. It does take a while to get that ridge going, but eventually it dries out properly, away from northern Scotland anyway, as we get up towards day 10. Let's just have a look at CFS-V2 last week. We can't show you up on the table within the ECM ensembles, by the way. They haven't updated the Icelandic Met Office as I'm recording this video at 10:30 AM on Sunday the 20th of June. So we'll show you the options on the table within the ECM ensembles in our live stream tonight from 6 o'clock, and we will also show you CFS full weekly data, CFS data for the next 4 weeks as well in the live stream. We can show you the CFS V2 700 millibar height anomaly forecast for July, though, as we come to the end of this video. So still going for quite an anti-cyclonic month. It has moved the position of the high slightly and weakened the ridge, so the high is now centering on this particular, remember these change daily, so this could just be a one-off. But at the moment, today, the CFS is centering the high pressure a little bit to our west. It is building a ridge into the UK and trying to get it eastwards, but there is like a weakening of the two areas of high pressure, so there is like a weakening of the ridges with perhaps a little bit of influence from the jet stream. So it's still pretty anti-cyclonic, it's still a lot of dry, relatively warm weather with that, you would have thought, but maybe not quite as settled, maybe not quite as hot a signal as it was going for like a few days ago. But we'll see, it could just be a one-off. And anyway, it is still quite an anticyclonic signal overall for July. Temperature anomaly for July, CFS today is very much close to average. I think it could still be a little bit warmer than average, to be honest, with so much high pressure close to us. So it might be a bit stingy with that, actually. And no particular signal for precipitation, but I would have thought like a dryish sort of month is still very likely, especially for more southern and western areas. We'll see about that, of course. We'll see how it develops over the coming days. Right, if you enjoyed Sunday Round-Up, please can you give us a like, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Tell your friends, family, everybody else who subscribe. That's great, thank you so much for doing this. We've got to put on around, I think we've got to put on around number 12 subscribers now to get to 12.3k. So we are very close to 12.3k now. Please give us a sub and drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Thank you so much to all of you for doing that. Right, that's it for Sunday Roundup. Make sure you check out the second autumn update. It's a bit of a laugh, so have a look at that. And yeah, we're going to be back later on live streaming from 6 o'clock. We'll have our Sunday evening live stream, so we'll see how we're all doing, and we'll show you some long range in the Sunday evening live stream. But for this week's Sunday Roundup, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.